Hello and welcome to 7 Days of Science, where we have a very special episode because I've been a bit of an idiot and forgotten my suit. Starting off the news this week, we head to the planet often referred to as our own Earth's twin, Venus. A study published this week in the journal Astrobiology has brought forth more insight into one of the most common questions about Venus. Is it a habitable planet, and does it support life now? While it has long been thought that the surface of Venus is uninhabitable and could not contain life, certain levels of its atmosphere have not yet been ruled out. One issue with this thought, though, is that Venus's atmosphere contains a very high concentration of sulfuric acid, which, naturally, is not thought to be particularly ideal for life. This study simulated the temperature and sulfuric acid concentration of Venus's clouds to see the effect on amino acids, which are complex organic compounds that are necessary for life to survive. Life as we understand it to be, at least. Out of the 20 biogenic amino acids tested, 19 reacted fairly positively to the harsh environments that they were subjected to. This study therefore proves that a wider range of molecules essential for life are capable of surviving in Venus's atmosphere. This is some fantastic new data to add to how we understand our sister planet, but it does not suggest that life actually does currently exist in its clouds. That being said, if it had been proven that these organic chemicals could not survive in Venus's atmosphere, then we would now know that the clouds were indeed uninhabitable, which is not the case. In other news, an astrophysicist from the University of Ottawa has published a paper in the Astrophysical Journal that says that there is no room in the universe for the presence of dark matter, a type of matter that it is usually believed makes up over a quarter of the universe, with ordinary matter making up less than 5% of it. You may remember a 7 Days of Science episode about 8 months ago now, where we had a look at a paper published by an astrophysicist that built a new model around how the universe works and concluded, using this model, that the universe was nearly double the age it is generally considered to be, landing at 26.7 billion years instead of the more widely accepted 13.8 billion. This study sought to solve some of the issues astronomers have understanding the universe and the questions what we know about the early universe raises with this new model, which redefined how redshift works using, among other things, the tired light theory, which suggests that light actually loses energy and slows down as it travels immense cosmic distances. Using the model created in the previous paper, the author has tested other constants about the universe against it, hoping to further flesh out the model to further understand what it would say about the universe. One such conclusion that was drawn was that this model does not necessitate the need for dark matter in the universe. The reason we generally believe dark matter exists is because there are structures in the cosmos that should not be gravitationally connected to one another, but seem to be affected by some sort of gravitational influence. The idea is that there is a rather large amount of dark matter in the universe that does not react to light or electromagnetic fields, but can only be explained through gravitational forces. It basically fills in the gaps in how we see stars, galaxies, and more behave. The paper also questions the role of dark energy in explaining why the universe is constantly expanding. The study acknowledges that even with this new research, the proposed new model of the universe has not been fully tested against the known constants of our universe, but it's clear that the author wants this model to be further analysed to the point where it could become the prevailing model for how we understand the universe. Next up in the news for this week, we're going much smaller scale and back to Earth, as a study published this week in the journal Current Biology has looked at whether or not dogs can create mental concepts of objects. We all probably know that dogs are fully capable of reacting to vocal commands, but how much they actually understand these commands hasn't always been entirely clear. As the study says, we have previously been able to analyse whether something can create mental representations of object words because of studies done on infants. The electrical impulses that the brain produces are scanned to see how certain words being said to the participants in this case dogs, are received. For example, the owner of a dog could say bone and then show a bone to see how the dog's brain reacts. Another test was done to do the same thing, but instead of showing a bone, show a different object. There was shown to be a different reaction in the dog's brain, proving what the study refers to as a semantic expectation violation. I'm obviously massively oversimplifying it, but interestingly, these studies matched up with the pre-verbal infant studies I mentioned earlier, and, as the study says, confirmed that an ability to produce words is not a prerequisite to form mental representations of object words. The study also found no link between this ability to form mental representations and the amount of words a dog was able to understand. This study has shown that dogs do not simply react to the noises that the words we say made, but actually understand what those words mean as well, which is the first time that this has been confirmed in a non-human organism. A truly fascinating study into one of our most beloved companions. Also in the news, some very interesting observations of sperm whales have recently been made. Whale watchers witnessed an amazing sight when orcas attempted to prey upon sperm whales. Due to their large size, orcas rarely attack sperm whales, but they had obviously decided to chance their luck in this particular case. The incident occurred in Bremer Bay, which is situated off the southern coast of Western Australia. Eyewitnesses on the boat described the sperm whales as having their heads out of the water, were heard to be breathing heavily, and looked exhausted and distressed. The sperm whales had formed a circle, with their heads in the centre and their tails were fanned out. This formation is called a rosette and is used as a defence mechanism against attacks. Abruptly, the orcas called off the attack and left the area. This coincided with a massive dark bubble appearing on the surface of the water. Initially, it was thought to be blood, but upon closer inspection, it was found to be feces. As the main diet of sperm whales is squid, their feces has a very red colour, hence the initial thought that this was blood. Sperm whales are known to be able to defecate at will. They will then move their tails through the feces to fend off or confuse predators, a very useful defence mechanism which certainly worked in this instance. The orcas obviously decided that the water quality was no longer up to their standard and went off in search of cleaner prey. We also have a short update to the story about the rejection of the Anthropocene epoch, which we reported on a couple of weeks ago. To recap, a vote was taken earlier this month by a subcommittee of the International Commission on Stratigraphy, rejecting a proposal to officially end the Holocene epoch, which started about 12,000 years ago, and to mark 1952 as the beginning of the Anthropocene epoch, where the human impact on the planet will start to show up in the geological record. The rejection of the proposal was not due to any doubt over the human impact on the planet, however, which is undeniably massive and will absolutely be recognisable in the future geological record. But rather it was because of the type locality chosen to be the start of the epoch was not representative enough of the ongoing global effects we are having. After the vote to reject the Anthropocene, there was a lot of pushback from the researchers who had been working on the proposal, with the claims that the vote had been illegitimate. Now though, the final decision has been made by the International Union of Geological Scientists to uphold the rejection, and so the Anthropocene as an official unit of geological time remains invalid. Nevertheless, the use of the term in more informal ways to describe the human impact on the planet over time will certainly continue. So it's not going away anytime soon. It's just not an actual epoch, and we're still technically in the Holocene. First up in the paleontology news for this week, we also have an update on the story of Homo naledi, the fascinating hominins from South Africa that have been causing quite the stir recently. This new paper is a fairly short examination of the known juvenile specimens of the species that have been found in the Rising Star cave system, developing the anatomical knowledge of the early juvenile growth stages of these hominins. The results show that the teeth of these youngsters are actually remarkably consistent across all the locations they've been found in the cave system, and that about 6 of the recovered skeletons fit into this early juvenile life stage definition, which would make them between about 5 to 6.6 years old at the time of death based on comparisons to modern humans. The paper also hints at a lot of work that's still in progress in the cave system, which will hopefully help to clarify the mystery behind how all these hominins got there and whether or not they were really engaging in brutal rituals. Also in the paleontology news this last week, there's been the very exciting announcement that the largest known freshwater toothed whale was discovered. Known from an isolated but almost complete skull, it's been named Pebanista yacuruna and would have reached about 3 meters in total body length. The anatomical features of the skull show that it would have been fully adapted to life in fresh waters, and it was uncovered from rocks in Peru dating to between 17 and 14 million years ago. Very interestingly, Pebanista is actually a very close relative of the living South Asian river dolphins, the platanistids, instead of the river dolphins that today inhabit the Amazon, which represent a second independent invasion of the river system. So the discovery of Pebanista shows that before the modern Amazon river dolphin lineage evolved, the platanistids were venturing into freshwater environments in South America as well as Asia, but then evidently died out in South America. The large size of Pebanista was likely due to the abundance of resources and particularly high biodiversity in the Proto-Amazonia region during this time, supporting the existence of such big-bodied freshwater dolphins. It's a wonderful discovery that reveals a lot about the evolution of these amazing mammals, especially since fossils of platanistid dolphins are so rare. Up next, it's been a great week for frog enthusiasts, as a new species of prehistoric amphibian has just been named after the green legend himself, Kermit. Called Kermitops gratus, the paper explains the name as being derived from a combination of Kermit, the famous little amphibian and beloved Muppets character created and originally performed by Jim Henson, and the Greek suffix ops, meaning face. It's known from a single skull that does indeed bear a remarkable resemblance to Kermit, with its prominent eyes, and so it really is the perfect name. Now, it's not actually a true frog. It's a kind of animal called a temnospondyl, a diverse grouping of amphibians that appeared long before the dinosaurs and probably gave rise to all the living amphibians. Kermitops was discovered in early Permian Age rocks in Texas, dating to around 270 million years ago. The anatomical features of the preserved skull have enabled the paleontologists to learn a great deal more about the evolution of this group of temnospondyls, which are actually very close to where the origin of all modern amphibians may have been, and so they're a significant group to study. A fantastic addition to the relatively sparse fossil record of these amphibians, and a rather brilliant idea for a name that helps greatly in the scientific communication of this discovery. And finally, for the paleontology news, we also have a new species of dinosaur this week. It's a new kind of titanosaur sauropod from the late Cretaceous of Uruguay called Udelartitan celeste. Its fossils were actually first discovered in 2006, and since then, other bones belonging to this species have been recovered too, now enabling paleontologists to describe it as a new species. It's known from 60 tail vertebrae, part of the pectoral girdle, a few pieces of limb bones and bits of the hind foot, plus associated eggshell fragments. Various anatomical features indicate that this is a unique species, and it's been found to be a relative of Saltosaurus, within the superfamily Saltosauroidea. This is the first record of this lineage of sauropods in Uruguay, and only the second species of sauropod to be recognised from here, after the first was described in 2022. Udelartitan was on the relatively smaller side for a titanosaur, reaching an estimated 15 to 16 meters in length, or about 49 to 52 feet. And it's another wonderful discovery that adds to our ever-expanding knowledge of these amazing dinosaurs. Well, that's it for the news this week. I do hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next week with some new news about a very fascinating species that we haven't heard from in a while.